How Basketball Saved My Life is sponsored by the Hall at the Rail House, Norman's premier event space in the heart of downtown. Weddings, receptions, corporate events, luncheons, banquets, proms, parties, and more. If you're looking for a place to celebrate life, we hope you'll choose the Hall at the Rail House, located in downtown Norman. The Hall at the Rail House is a 100-year-old event space with wood floors, exposed bricks, and beautiful wood barrel ceilings. With plentiful parking and many packages to choose from, the Hall is the perfect spot for your next event. For more information, please visit therailhousenorman.com or call 405-778-0003.
This episode is brought to you by Chris Express Drugs, located on South OKC. For all your sports medicine needs, call 405-735-3950.
This episode is also brought to you by Emmy Labs. They have partnered with the State Department of Health to bring you free COVID-19 tests. So go to www.emmylabs.com to find a testing location near you. That's a major move. Welcome to another episode of How Basketball Saved My Life. I'm your host, Easy Button.
And your boy, Twan the Don.
And we have a very special guest in here for y'all today. Dual sport athlete, basketball coach, Rory Hamilton. How are you, Coach?
How you doing, man?
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here.
Man, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
You know, we had the camp last week, and you showed up to that, and you showed out, and we had a really, really good time. And so I'm like, I can't wait to hear your story. And then we was kind of talking about it a little bit, and you gave us some nuggets that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get into it. So for all the people that don't know, where are you from, Coach?
I'm from originally from Wichita, Kansas, and I lived in Wichita up until about my 7th grade year. And the neighborhood that we lived in was kind of one of the tougher neighborhoods in Wichita. And so my mom and my dad decided to move out towards Goddard, which is about 10 to 15 minutes west of Wichita. And I started there in 7th grade.
Before you continue, I overheard you telling a story when we were at work one day. I work with this man, great dude. And so you're going to have to tell that story about how your wife was like, we're not living in Kansas. So, so you're going to have to tell that story.
Yeah. So lived at Goddard and graduated there. I was a dual sport athlete. I actually played 3 sports in high school.
How do you say 3 sport athlete? Is it triple
sport?
threat?
Triple threat. But no, you know, the community that I grew up in, everybody played football. Then you went to basketball, and then you played baseball in the spring. And so that was just kind of the way I grew up. And so I was okay at football, but I really loved basketball and baseball. Those are the ones I really concentrated on. A lot of my friends played football, and so I think just due to peer pressure, I would go out there and play with them. Yeah. But there's nothing like Friday Night Lights.
Right.
So I had that experience in high school, which is a lot of fun, but nothing beats being in a gym or on the field. So,
in the warmth.
In the warmth, exactly. Yeah,
Kansas gets cold.
Oh, I'm telling you.
That's a different kind of cold.
Yeah, and windy. Where I'm, that side of Kansas is really, really windy. And so I was telling my kids today at the gym, I'm blessed as their father. They play inside sports.
Yeah,
they're all out in the cold and the wind and the rain. But yeah, so I was lucky enough. My senior year, I was all-state in 2 sports, basketball and baseball.
Okay.
So I got to play in both the what's back then it was called the Kansas Association of Basketball Coaches All-Star Game, and the KBCA, which is the Kansas Baseball Coaches Association All-State Game. And at that time, there was only like a handful of us that had ever been able to do that. So that was quite the accomplishment.
You did both in 1 year.
Did both in 1 year. So the KABC game is held at Washburn every year. I think it's still held at Washburn. And then the Baseball Coaches Association All-State game is at Wichita State. And so had the opportunity to play that. You know, I was probably a better baseball player. I had the opportunity to walk on at Wichita State. I had the opportunity to go play at a couple small Division I's, but my love was basketball.
Yeah.
And so, you know, going to the recruiting process was a difficult one for me because I still wanted to play both.
Right.
And so, junior college I had several junior colleges recruiting me. I went on several recruiting trips, but Butler is where I ended up going.
All right.
Starting my my college experience.
So since you was good at baseball, you didn't ever think to like take the baseball scholarship and then try and play basketball at one of the higher schools?
I did the exact opposite. I said, I'm gonna go try basketball, and from the minute I hit Butler, it was basketball, basketball, basketball. And so I told myself that I'm gonna give it 1 year and then kind of evaluate and see what I really wanted to do. Well, the minute I stepped on there, we had a really great coach, but he was very demanding. And so from 6 a.m. weights to study hall at 7 to 9 p.m., every minute of the day was spoken for. And so I quickly realized that there was no way I was going to be able to do both.
Mm-hmm.
And so
It's
obviously,
a real job.
it's a real job. And so the difficult part for me, I think, early on was, trying to find where I fit in.
Yeah.
We had guys from Detroit, we had guys from East St. Louis, we had guys from Battle Creek, Michigan. But the nice thing about the Kansas JUCOs is you also had small town kids like myself, small town kids from Western Kansas, and y'all would come together because you only could have 5 out-of-state scholarships back then. So it really helped me grow not only as a basketball player but as a person, because you had to learn about other people, backgrounds, things like that. So
Things that lead on to make you a good teammate and a good coach.
absolutely, and just hearing other people's story about, and that's one thing I loved about junior college is everybody's got a story.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you here? A lot of guys, it was maybe had some baggage, maybe made some bad decisions as a second chance. Some guys like myself were just not quite good enough to play at a top level, but maybe JUCO was the way to get to that next level. Then you had some kids that maybe didn't qualify academically. At Prop 48, they could go there and get stashed, and then a D1 could pick them up after that. So everybody's there for a different reason, and so that's
But the
beauty.
same reason at the end of the day.
That's right. It's the same reasons. Get out. Is to get out.
Different reasons, same reason.
Yeah, exactly. And so the cool part is, and the thing as JUCO guys, is when you see how JUCO is portrayed on TV, there's the good and the bad that you see. And I'm educating my son right now, who's watching Last Chance on, here's the good part of JUCO, and here's what I really, really enjoyed about it.
Right.
But there's a bad side of it too as well, and you have to make sure that you balance that. And so it's a good eye opener for him as far as these guys trying to make it, the decisions that they have to make and things like that.
So aside from every minute being accounted for, what was one of the things that you just were like, wow, I didn't expect this out of JUCO?
Just how much you're expected to do. There are no time constraints in junior college. So a 3-hour practice was normal for us at Butler. And so from morning weights to class till noon, you really didn't have any free time. And any free time that you had, you went to back to your room and tried to get your academics done.
Right.
So it really helped me learn time management and knowing how to get things done. There'd be several times, I don't know if you guys had to do this, where we'd get back from a game and we'd practice.
Never had to do that.
I'll never forget.
Y'all must have got beat real bad.
We did. So we got beat by Northern Oklahoma.
Tonkawa?
At Tonkawa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we beat them at home already that season, but we lost to them, and we got back to El Dorado, and the bus pulled in. We took vans too. The vans pulled in and went to a locker room, and Coach fired up the lights, and we practiced for probably another hour and a half, and it was just one of those deals where we ran, we played one-on-one full court.
Sheesh.
It was brutal.
After a game.
After a game. After a 2-hour van ride, I think, back then, yeah.
That's one of the things I hated about JUCO the most.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a high school game where your bus rides are 30, 40 minutes tops,
Yeah.
We're going hours and hours and hours. I remember going from Dodge City to Cowley.
Yeah.
From Cowley all the way to Oklahoma. We played what Oklahoma
Redlands?
Did we play? I don't think we played Redlands. I think we played Northeast. There's
Ineo.
I think we played. Just driving. Everything was like a 2-hour ride minimum. So if you had 2 games in a week, 2 away games, I should say, you're on the road twice.
Yeah.
I remember hitting a wall physically where like my mind would say, go get that rebound, go block that shot.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have no legs because you're cramped up in them vans for hours on hours.
Right.
So I can't imagine getting off that 2-hour van after a game, had to be 9, 10 o'clock at night, if not later.
It's later. Luckily, I didn't play that much that game. So I was fresh. I was killing the practice.
Did you hand out buckets?
It's crazy hearing y'all talk about the JUCOs out here, because like the JUCOs out here are really running like a college program.
Yeah.
Back in California, the 2 JUCOs I did go to, they didn't really run it like that. It was more like you have to prepare yourself. You need to do this to yourself. Like this is your second chance, right? Like we'd go to school, we wouldn't have morning practice, so we'll just have practice right after school, right after your class, certain little block period after you go to your practice.
Y'all was like a prep school.
Yeah, like that's how it felt. Cause like I mean, I did more. I feel like on the football team practice wise than for the basketball team. It was like you need to put in extra work yourself, or you need to do it. So like I wish I kind of could have experienced more of a structured situation at the JUCO I went to.
Yeah.
So. Because I hear from him a lot when he said, and then like hearing y'all, because y'all both played in the same conference, right? Yeah, and it sounded like they really held it like a real college atmosphere for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, still to this day, the Jayhawk Conference is probably top 10 in the whole nation. So I guess that's one of the reasons, because I don't know what it's like, you know, in California or, you know, a conference in Florida, Texas, whatever. So that's something to look into for sure. So, boom, Coach. How'd you get started? We already asked that. So who put the ball in your hand?
I played probably when I was about 11 or 12. I played a little bit of in Wichita, we called it bitty basketball. So I played a little bit of bitty basketball.
Bitty basketball?
Bitty basketball.
I like that.
Yeah, it's called bitty basketball.
Is that like Optimus out here?
Like Optimus, yeah.
Okay.
It was in the city. You know, my dad was a football coach and teacher, so my dad was coach of our team. I did that early on, and then what's crazy story is my grandma got me started playing tennis when I was like 8 or 9, and so I went from basketball to tennis, and then started picking up baseball and basketball a little bit later. And
so when did you start playing basketball? Like the
stopped
first
playing
time?
serious basketball probably 11 or 12.
Got you.
Yeah.
And then what about baseball?
Baseball about the same. About right 11 and 12. I thought my dad did a good job of getting me exposed to a little bit of everything, and then trying to figure out what I had a passion for.
Right.
And I've tried to do that as a parent as well. Was just give my kids a little bit of everything, and then figure out what are they going to gravitate towards, and boom, let's go. Not force anything on them. And so about 11 or 12, I started playing both, and then you know, really started concentrating on mainly baseball first. And then basketball kind of became my passion as I went along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it about baseball that, I mean, I know a lot of guys that play baseball and basketball, and a lot of it is like, basketball practice is just hell. Basketball practice is hell. Baseball is easy. Like, what was it for you about baseball that just made you love it?
Being outside, number one. You know, and I really enjoyed it. And if you're good at something, you enjoy, I think, going to it. You know, I think if you're good at something, you enjoy going to practice. A large part of why I just ended up playing baseball in college is because of my friends. I had several high school teammates that were on the school at Newman. So that I think the people and the company and the coaches that you're around with every day also make it an enjoyable process. If you dread going to practice every day, it's not fun.
Right.
Which is why I've also heard football players quit basketball in high school.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they dread going to basketball practice, but they love going to football practice. So,
yeah, I think it's just the mental and physical requirements differ from sport to sport. And so, as you guys know, basketball is a grind. And so, one of the things I tell my players is there's no tougher kid in the building than a basketball player, because we start August and we're done in March. You know, we have 60-something practices every year, 2-hour practices, and you know, I wouldn't say our practices are just unbearable, but they're not easy.
No, they're not.
And so, if you can, and I tell the girls this all the time, if you can go through a whole basketball season with the mental and physical challenges that it presents you, when you graduate and you go on to college or career or whatever you do, you're going to be well prepared for that.
Very true. Very true. I have some more baseball/basketball questions.
Yeah.
You know how you always hear football players like, oh man, I got to get in basketball shape.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, okay, clearly football players, you know, you play offense, you go sit down, you play defense, you go sit down.
Right.
What's the difference like in baseball shape and basketball shape?
baseball's shape is a lot like football. It's short bursts.
Yeah.
So I played center field, and so I had to be good in 30 to 50-yard increments.
Right.
As far as like 30-yard sprint this way, 40-yard sprint that way. Bases are 90 feet, so everything is a short, quick, explosive burst, and then you have a break.
Yeah.
Then you have a break. Where basketball is just nonstop.
Yeah.
It's nonstop, and so, I think the other part of it is when you watch like the World Series, how big those guys are.
Man.
They're 220, 230, all of them. So just the physical nature of the game has changed. When I graduated in 1997, my last year playing, it was still more old school baseball where you would steal bases, you bunt, and things like that. The game has evolved now to where it's
Home
a lot
run,
of home runs,
derby.
bust,
Yeah.
which is boring, to me. The guys don't run bases as much as they used to and things like that. But so that's kind of the difference between the two. Yeah.
That's interesting because I'm like, I wonder which sport, football, baseball, which of the two gets you better prepared, for basketball.
For basketball.
You know what I mean?
I think football. I always and I tell my girls, I think soccer. Some of the most aggressive physical players I've ever coached were soccer players.
Oh man.
So I can imagine taking guys that were football, put them on the basketball court. They're not afraid of physicality.
Yeah.
Not afraid to get in there, mix it up.
Definitely helped me a lot.
Yeah, like Tom Izzo. Anytime Tom Izzo feels like his guys are getting soft, he'll get the helmets out. And they'll practice with the helmets. He'll do a rebounding drill with the helmets on just to make those guys go down there and bang a little bit.
Is that on YouTube?
I don't know if it's on YouTube. That's just something I read in a book one time that one of John Feinstein's books.
Yeah.
He talked about Izzo. He actually put shoulder pads and helmets on them.
Yeah.
So you guys are getting soft, and so they put the old school bubble on the rim, shoot it. Everything's a missed shot.
A brick.
Everything's a missed shot, so guys are hitting each other, rebounding, and the point was you got to be more physical. And you watch his teams play. Obviously, that's the identity of his
big
teams.
facts.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie to you. That sounds comedic.
Yeah.
No, I'll say football does bring that though. That's one reason why I probably kept it. I was good at football, but like I knew my love was basketball,
Yeah.
and I was good at basketball too. But I seen how much more it benefited me on the court being that much more physical playing football. So, that's probably one reason why a lot of dual sport athletes are pretty good at that main sport that they pick, because every sport's going to help you.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Absolutely.
So then when do you feel like, you know what, I'm a pretty decent basketball player? Like, when did that happen in your mind where you're like, okay, now I'm trying to get myself a scholarship?
I think it was between my sophomore and junior season. Where I grew up, freshmen weren't allowed to play varsity. And so as a freshman, we played a ninth grade schedule. And then my sophomore year, I won the starting job. As a point guard, but I couldn't shoot. I was drive and
What?
kick. I'm telling you, I couldn't shoot. I was drive, kick, drive, dish.
You got that strap now, though.
and I'll tell you a funny story about that, but I'd run the offense. We played a lot of zone. My high school coach, Dan Buchanan, was well ahead of his time as far as offense and defense, but we ran a lot of zone, a lot of 1-3-1 zone, which if you've seen me coach, we run that sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I went from averaging my sophomore year like 8 points a game to 14 my junior year, and the only thing that improved was my free throw shooting. So I'd get to the paint, get fouled, end of game situations, we'd spread the floor, I'd make free throws. And then my high school coach, I still couldn't shoot. Anything outside, I'm serious, anything outside of the paint area was no good. And so I was averaging 14 points a game with really not being able to shoot the basketball.
That's nice.
My best friend.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, because I could shoot free throws and make layups and get out in transition. Because, I was a decent athlete. I could run and move, and so.
Is that a thing where because you played two other sports, you didn't have time to put the work in for the jump shot, or?
I think so. I learned later it was a combination of eyesight and habit. And I'll kind of share the shooting story. But so then after my junior year, my high school coach, and I have two unbelievable shooters as friends that played the 2 and the 3-4s. One played at Friends University in Wichita. I went to Cali. He went to Cali. He was another JUCO guy. And then my other friend played baseball with me at Newman. So they're both good athletes, really good shooters. Well, growing up, all I had to do was drive and kick it to them, and guys would sag off.
Spoiled you.
Yeah, sag off me. And so between my junior and my senior year, my high school coach sat down with me, and he basically broke down my shot. And not to get too technical, but I had really bad eyesight. And so I had learned over the years how to just kind of manually correct it. And so I used to bring the ball way over here.
The wind up.
Yeah, I used to bring it way over here, and I learned later is because I always wanted to have two eyes looking at the basket because I couldn't see. And so he got me first to get the ball in the right spot, and then slowly but surely just worked on my mechanics. And I spent that whole summer in the gym doing different drills that he gave me.
That's dangerous
Yeah.
because we like to say, you get to high school, it's not time to change your shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's time for you to perfect the shot you already got,
Right.
unless you have the ability to go put in a summer into
Right.
it and be so diligent, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who was in the gym with you that whole summer when you were doing it?
Those guys, the kind of kids I grew up with, we'd work all day, and then we'd go to the gym at night, or
Yeah.
find time to get into the gym. Some of those kids were out cutting wheat, working at the school. So a lot different than kids these days. We were out working. So
Yeah.
we
Way
find
different.
time. We had to find time. But yeah, I still remember some of the drills that we used to do. One of my favorites was Steve Alford All-American Workout. And so that was the one that I got started with. And you can actually go to YouTube and find it. But that's the one my high school coach said, you need to do this workout every day.
Yeah.
I did it religiously 3 to 4 times a week. And then on top of that, we used to do several transition shooting drills. And so we would just go up there, get the toss. You guys remember the old toss back? Throw it, toss back, do that.
You're talking about the net, the thing with the net that you throw the ball at?
Pops right back
and
to
it
you.
pop you up.
Yep. Get that thing out. And so I just worked. And then, by the time my senior year rolled around, I went from 14 to 21.
Woo!
Yeah, 14 to 21. And
Big difference.
big
6
difference.
points makes.
And my game from there is when my game really evolved. I think to this day it's still a record for, it was 21.3 or something points per game. I think to this day at Goddard High School it's still a record for best average in a season. And I still hold the school record for most free throws made in a season.
Nice.
But our team, tell you a funny story, I hit 5 threes several times that year, but there was one game in particular where our team hit 15 threes.
Ooh, that's a big time.
And if you go back to when that time, it was 92, 93, 90, right in that area. That's right when Patino was at Kentucky. That's right when that spread the floor, drive and kick, shoot a lot of threes, and our coach really embraced that. And so if you watched us play, we were a lot of fun to watch because we pressed.
Up and down.
Like a zone press, and then we get up and down, and we drive and kick and shoot threes. So we're a lot of fun to watch. We didn't rebound very well, but
You don't need to when you're getting buckets.
but
You're getting steals.
Yeah.
Scoring team.
I'm about to say, if they not shooting the ball, you're getting a steal.
yeah. But
Who needs a rebound?
all three of us shot over 33% from. I think I was right at 35, and my buddy Brian Buchanan, who's the AD at the school we grew up at, he was in the 40s, and so we were a lot of fun to watch. But still to this day, my high school coach, Dan Buchanan, is the best shooting coach I've ever been around. And if he could fix me, I always feel like I can pass that on to my players. Here's the things that help me become a better shooter. And so, from then on out, just that's what got me my college scholarship. People really took note that they always knew I could drive and penetrate, but once I added that three-point shot in transition or throwing into a big and getting it back out, my game just evolved.
Relocating.
My game just evolved, And my our JUCO coach, you weren't really allowed to shoot a three unless it went inside to one of the 6'10" guys.
Oh, yeah.
So, he was a little different mindset going from Goddard, where all we did was shoot threes, to Butler with Coach Smithson, where it better
Play
go
through
in.
the big man.
Yeah, you got to play through the big guys. And we had a couple. We had out of that team. The year that I was there, of the 12 guys that we had, I think 10 of them went Division I, and 2 of them went Division II, and they ended up winning a national championship at Fort Hays. So it was an unbelievable.
Fort Hays State.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable group of guys and players. So learned a lot.
That's pretty cool, man. You went from what would you say your 3-point percentage was prior to that junior year?
I didn't shoot him.
At all.
He didn't go out there.
I didn't even try. I mean, I would shoot one on occasion, but I just knew it wasn't my game.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't have any confidence in it. And I felt like if I did take it, it wasn't going to go in, so I was hurting the team.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Stick to what you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, hey, you got to know yourself, so that's cool. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of a percentage jump that was, because from a guy who really didn't shoot him to 35%,
Yeah.
I mean, that's respectable. They got to get out there.
Yeah, and the way that we ran our offense, you know, it's amazing. It was the dribble drive before the dribble drive became a thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think my coach was well ahead of his time on that. But we spread the floor, drive, kick. You know, I'd either get to the hoop or kick it out, and that's just how we played. Next guy was shot faking and going, and so it really helped evolve my game as well, as far as being able to finish at the rim, but also being able to pass and distribute and get other people involved. Yeah. But yeah, I would say, honestly, I mean, I probably went from the teens to 30s. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's
Nice.
tight.
Right, that's nice.
I wish I could have made that type of jump.
Shout out to that coach for giving you the confidence to want to start pulling.
Yep.
Man, for real, because a lot of shooting is confidence.
Absolutely.
And then once you get the confidence, I've been figuring out ways to help my players shoot better. And I told them it's confidence and it's feel.
Yeah.
Because once you know how to go up and release the shot and do those types of things, now you have to have a feel for it.
Yep.
You know, you hear, don't guide the ball in, you know, shoot the ball. And what does that mean? Don't guide the ball,
Right.
shoot the ball. You got to feel it. You'll know if it's too strong to pull back. You'll know if it's too short to add to it, or let it hang, as they say,
Yeah.
you know, follow through. Like I was watching The Last Dance, and I don't remember which game it was, but Jordan hit a game winner, and he looked like he was posing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the game, he was doing an interview, and they asked him, you know, you were just posing to, you know, I'm paraphrasing, you were just posing and you were trying to make it look good. He was like, no, the last few shots I left it short. So I stood there and just put some more on it to make sure I didn't leave that one short.
Yep.
And so I just bring that up to say it's feel. You know, you feel it enough, and any good basketball players, shooters, they know when it's time to feel it and put more on it, take some off of it. So I like that you said you went from the teens to 35%.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's in, you know, the muscle memory drills that we in the shooting. There's a drill that we still do to this day, 5-minute shooting, and it's just 5 minutes of continuous 3-point shooting, 2 rebounders, 2 balls, and it's just constant. And so you learn how to shoot through fatigue.
Yep.
You learn how to get that muscle memory. You talk about shooting when your legs are gone, when your legs are jello. You get to that 3rd, 4th, 5th minute, and everything's starting to, you know, your legs are on fire, arms on fire, and so you learn
Shoulders,
everything, right? And so you learn how to adjust. You learn how to, when you get tired, to use your big muscles. And so, because we all know, we've all played where you get that big shot and your legs are jello because you had to maybe sprint back on defense, or you came off a screen, you know, things like that. And so learning how to shoot, that muscle memory. And to me, the biggest part about becoming a better shooter was not so much with my feet and everything, it was just getting the ball in the right spot and being able to be consistent from here to here. The more I was able to be consistent from here to here, I could get my feet in the right spot as long as I was here. And so that's how my shot really got fixed, is we worked here to here,
Right.
and then just kind of build out from there.
Well, I was never a pure shooter,
Yeah.
unlike my man Twan here.
But hey, I couldn't shoot till junior year either, though.
For real?
Yeah.
I was never a pure shooter, but if my feet were set, catch and shoot, it was going in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it was slow, but it was going in. It's when I got to where I'm playing a little bit more serious basketball and I'm realizing, like, man, I got to get this thing off.
Yeah.
You know, so one of the things I worked on was locking my elbows.
Yeah.
Because before my elbow would stick out, and so then it would come up like this. That's how I knew the wind
Yeah,
up. That's
yeah.
my thing, right?
Yeah.
So then I got to a point where I had to lock my elbow. Then it's less wiggle room.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to take, I don't know how much time you take off by going straight up, but it improved my shot tremendously.
Yeah.
I mean, the speed on it was better. And then from that point, repetition, muscle memory.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was a lot of repetition because, unfortunately, what happened to me is junior year I could shoot a little bit, but senior year is when it really came consistent. I got shot in the between that year, so like the muscles they cut my abdomen, so like I didn't have no abdomen muscle. So like
he got
shooting,
shot.
You got shot.
He just
I was like,
brushed
whoa.
over that.
like, nah, yes.
Let me hear that again.
Yeah, 17, just out with friends and
Sure.
bad
Wrong
space.
place, wrong
right.
time.
Yeah.
So like I didn't have no abs, like the abs were gone. So
Yeah.
like trying to really shoot then, I
Yeah.
couldn't. So it was like no jump, no nothing. So like I was in the gym a little early, just I couldn't not be in there.
Yeah.
So just in there with friends, and I used to just do a lot of arm. It was all arms.
Yeah.
It was never body. It was never legs. So everything I was shooting was legs. So then when my body finally started getting comfortable, I finally realized, now that I
he
have,
doesn't bend till this day.
it's all arms all
Yeah.
the time, like quick jumper and like
Yeah.
one motion. So like that, I got to, but because of that summer though, obviously trying to get my body back together,
Yeah.
I worked on what I only could work on at the time, and it made me a better shooter then. And ever since then, I feel like I can shoot from anywhere now. So
That's a great story, and it brings up a video that I watched several years ago of Gilbert Arenas.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great video, and it kind of describes what you're talking about with your shooting. There's a video of him shooting one-arm three-point shots from the corner. One arm. He just takes it off the rack. Boom. Boom. Just one arm. All he's working on is like we talking about, just muscle, just here. Because I think that's the number one mistake I see with girls is everything is here,
Yeah.
you know, especially young, and they don't understand that this has to be the same regardless of how far you're shooting it. It's the big muscles that give you the lift and the arch. And so if you can perfect the release, and I feel like the best way to perfect that release is shooting free throws. If you can effectively shoot a high percentage free throw, you can learn, okay, 2 steps back, 3 steps back, 3-point line, how much more do I need to give here?
Right.
And so whenever I work with a kid on shooting, or a young kid, even my son, we start at the free throw line.
That's a great point. I don't know too many good free throw shooters that can't shoot.
Exactly.
They're out there, obviously.
Right.
But can you think of somebody right now that shoots free throws really well but couldn't shoot, like whether it's a mid-range or a 3?
Not that I know of. I mean,
I can't think of one.
yeah, Steve Nash is the obviously the best free throw shooter I think I've ever seen, and you know, it's simple, just simple, you know, and we actually do a drill called Steve Nash free throws where we just work on exactly that. No dribble, no nothing, just get it here and go, just muscle memory, you know, and but that's, to me, if you can't shoot 7 to 8 out of 10 from the free throw line consistently, you don't need to be shooting threes. You're unguarded free throw, if you can't make 7, you know. And I know, I was watching Kellen the other day.
I like that.
And Kellen was doing a drill and a 3-point license drill where you got to make a certain number to be able to shoot in a game, and I love that concept. But I was always like, hey, if you can't make 7 out of 10, there's no way we need to go back here and start shooting threes. Let's just work elbow to elbow.
That's beautiful.
I like that.
you
That's
know?
beautiful.
So,
That's beautiful because, I mean, accountability.
Yeah.
You know, you don't just get to shoot it because he's shooting it.
that's right.
Or she's shooting it, I should say.
Right.
Or it's just a shot you want to shoot.
That's right. And
You
a lot of
know?
times you're taking it because that coach is letting you take it.
Right.
It was scouting report. let him shoot that.
Yeah, we want him to shoot
Yeah.
that. But it's like you were talking about with the license thing that Kellen's doing.
Yeah.
I love that. And I told him, I said, that license also needs to be revocable, you
Yeah.
know, because you get to a point where you've missed a couple shots
Yeah.
for 5-6 games. All right. Now you're going to have to earn that license back.
Yep.
Unless we know you're that pure and the reason why you're missing that shot is because of game plan from the other team. That's a
Right.
different story.
That's true.
Because now I got to do a better job of getting you open or using you as a decoy, things like that,
Yeah.
to get you better looks and so on and so forth. But I don't think players should get that license. You know, I'm not talking about just Norman North,
Yeah.
just in general. Just shoot that 3 and just think, okay, this is all I do now. You know, I was working out a kid earlier. Shout out to my boy Luke, phenomenal shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably was born to shoot, but he gets to a point where, you know, sometimes that's all he does.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you can use your shot ability, your shooting ability, to get to the lane.
Yeah.
You can use that to get to the floater. You can use that to get an assist.
Yeah.
You don't have to just use your shooting ability just to shoot.
Yep.
It does so much more.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
A good story on that is Kate and Kite, a girl I coached last, she's at Oklahoma Christian now. When I coached her her junior year, second game of the year, she hits 8 3-point shots in a game. Still to this, she broke the record. But she had 5 of those in the first quarter. 5 of those in the first quarter. Second game of the year. And so as the season progressed, teams would face guard her or not help off of her. And so she kind of got frustrated. And so the teaching point now is, how can you affect the game if you're not getting the same amount of shots? You know, you need to be a good screener.
Right.
Teams aren't going to help off of you. Be a great screener. Be a good passer. Be a good facilitator. Be a good floor spacer to keep the floor spaced. And so shooters sometimes get in the pigeonhole of, this is the only thing I can contribute to a team, when you're not going to have the ball less than 10% of the time you're on offense.
Right.
So how can I affect the game in other ways? And so that's a tough lesson for, I think, young kids to realize. They all want to play with the ball, but great players learn how to play without the ball, and how to affect the game with not having the ball in their hands.
Right. I mean, shoot, you had some really good guards. To have somebody face guarded means your good ball handlers and your penetrators now have a little bit wider lane when they're getting to the basket. So, you know, just another teaching point for, hey, I know you felt like you didn't get enough touches, but let's look at this right here. Your girl didn't go help. We got a layup. That's you. You did that.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean? So just it just helps kids realize, like, oh, I'm not just out there for no reason.
Right. Or this is the only thing I can do to contribute.
Exactly.
But another key point, that's how I feel like we should teach them to work on the things that you don't just keep on working. We know you can shoot.
Yeah.
So instead of always working on your jump shot, work on your dribble pull up or your get to the rim now, so you don't feel like someone's taking your jump shot out the game. You know you can do other things.
Work on your backdoor in stride layup.
Yeah, and that's
absolutely.
one thing with the kids. I want to always, like, if I do want to do coach or anything, teaching them, or my son, like, I don't want you to just work on one thing. Work on your craft, period. It's a game, and there's multiple things you can do in that game, whatever sport it is. So make sure you always work and keep yourself better.
That's a great point. Keep your strength,
right?
But also work on your what you need to work on.
Your weaknesses.
Work on your weaknesses.
You know. So, with that being said, Coach, you played 2 years at Butler, right?
Just 1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
You were like, I had enough of this.
Was this the 6 a.m. all day?
No, you know, it was a funny story, because I had several friends that played baseball at Newman. And so after my freshman year at Butler, I was working in the summer, and just so happens that the Newman baseball coach is my next door neighbor. Oh. And so, you know, I'd hear stories about how my friends were doing in practice and things like that. And so I work with these guys and around them all summer. We fish and do different things. And, you know, they finally said, hey, you just need to come to Newman, and you just need to come check it out. And so Paul Stanogorski, who's the coach, said, just come to campus. You know, we'll take a tour around, see what you think. And
plotting on you.
Yeah, plotting on me, you know.
Reeling you in.
Yeah, and so I did. I went and met some of the guys. One of my best friends, Chris Durham, played there, and really liked what I saw. It was close to home.
How close?
I mean, it was in Wichita, so you know, it was right there.
Drive?
5-10 minutes. Yeah, 5-10 minutes.
Lovely.
You know, so you know, and the opportunity, they gave me some money for athletics, and they gave me some money for academics. So it made sense, and so I told myself, I'm going to try this for a year. I did basketball for a year. I'm going to try this for a year. If I like it, I'll stay. If I don't like it, I'll see what else is out there. And so
swung off 3 years.
Yep. Yep. Then first year, you know, it felt like home. You know, it was a smaller school. I went to a smaller high school. It was a small school. You knew everybody. You knew your professors. It was a Catholic environment, which at the time, you know, was important to me, and just having some structure there, and then having some friends that also went to school there made it good. And so, yeah. So next 1 year turns into 3 years. You know?
Got him.
Yeah. End up my junior year getting NAIA All-American honors.
Nice.
So center field. So
Newman was NAIA then.
Yes.
But it's Division II now.
Division II now. I think about 10 or 11 years ago, I think they made the transition. But it was NAIA back then, so we would come down and play OCU. We played Southern Nazarene was NAIA back then. We'd play Oklahoma Christian. I'm trying to think where else we'd play. Phillips, back when you guys remember Phillips. That was back a long time ago. They used to have a college in Enid called Phillips. But we would come down to Oklahoma quite a bit. There were a lot of NAI. Oh, East Central, I think, was NAI back then. So we would come down and make all those trips.
Probably played Northwestern.
Northwestern, there we go. Another one that's right. So we made those trips quite a bit. And then how I got into coaching was my senior year. Newman didn't have basketball.
I was about to ask you that. And did you ever miss basketball in any of those 3 years?
I played summer league every year at Friends University, and I play with the guys. So I'd get my fill in that way.
Get your fix.
I'd go to the Heskett Center on Wichita State and play pickup there with a lot of JUCO guys and Wichita State guys, and just former really good players in the city league. They play there. So that's how I'd get my fill of basketball. And but then my senior year, they decided they were going to start the basketball program back up again. And so in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I wonder who the coach is going to be. Well, they announced Mark Potter as being one of the is going to be the head coach. Well, Mark Potter was a Newman alum. Not only was he a Newman alum, but he was a Newman baseball player. At the time, he was coaching at Wichita South, which is where, I don't know if you know who Steve Eck is, but Steve Eck, he's the coach at Hutch JUCO now, best defensive coach I've ever been around. But he was coaching at Wichita South, and he got the job at Newman, and I saw him one day on campus and said, hey, I want to help out. I want to get into coaching. And so he said, well, let's go come talk about it. And so, I got hired that summer. We started up the program. And
so you were there for the inaugural season.
It got disbanded. I can't remember, in the late '80s, but yeah, for the first year, inaugural year back, I was on staff with. It was me, Coach Potter, and Dan Cosgrove. It was us three. Didn't make any money. Drove the vans. Did all the grunt work. Paid my dues. Learned a lot. Was around some really, really good guys. I was there for 3 years. And then my last year there, we made it to the NAI Sweet 16 in Branson.
So you ended up at Newman for 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and the best part about Newman, other than the coaching and going to school there, is I met my wife there. So she was actually she's a Norman girl. She played volleyball at Cali County, so she's a JUCO girl. So we talk about JUCO stuff all the time. But she played at Cali and ended up playing volleyball at Newman. And so we met through a mutual friend, and that was the best part about Newman, is meeting my wife.
I bet, man, because now y'all still together and y'all got some babies.
Yeah. So
one of which is taller than the both of you.
That's true. That's true.
So here's a question. Then you were there for 6 years.
Yeah.
Did they weren't paying because it was their first year?
Correct.
Did they at least help you get school paid for? Did you go for some other degrees?
Well, I was
What'd you major in?
I graduated, and I was teaching math at Mays High School. So I'd go teach math all day at Mays, and then I'd sprint over to practice in the afternoon at Newman. But I tell my son this all the time. I remember going and teaching all day, going over to Newman, getting in a van, driving to Omaha, Nebraska, playing Bellevue that night, driving back that night, and then going to class and teaching the next day.
Next morning.
Man.
I remember doing stuff like that, going to Salina, all over the place. We didn't have, my first year, we didn't have a gym at Newman. So we would play at all the local high schools in Wichita, and a lot of times at the two Catholic schools, Carroll and Capon. But majority of our games were on the road. So we were in those vans all the time. So we'd drive those vans and come back. So it was a grind. At the time I was single. I couldn't get enough of it, because I love basketball and I wanted to learn so much. And Coach Potter taught me so much about how to run a program and how to prepare. And I think as coaches, we are a product of how we were coached and the coaches that we're around a lot. And so him being the first, other than my high school coach and my JUCO coach, the first one that really taught me how to be a coach.
How many years have you been the head coach at Norman North right now?
This is my 7th year, so I'm starting my 7th year at North, and prior to that, I was at Mount St. Mary for 7 years.
Dang.
Yeah. So
you put in some time.
Yeah. So this is my 23rd year coaching in general. So and then one of the things I always share with my girls is I've coached freshman boys, freshman girls, college men, varsity girls, varsity boys, I just have a wide array of knowledge of, things that I've learned over the years that kind of help me mold my philosophy on how to coach and how to do things. And I've taken bits and pieces from all the coaches I've been around, and you can't be somebody else, but I've taken some of those things to try to mold it into what my philosophy is and what I believe in.
Right. Go ahead, you got a question?
No, so when you only played 3 years of baseball there, right?
Yeah.
Did you not have a fourth year?
No.
Remember that year in JUCO?
Okay.
JUCO.
Because I thought your clock for baseball and basketball would be different, right?
Not in the NAI rule, because it was considered 1 year of junior college. It would just be like if I went to NEO and then I wanted to go to OU, I'd have 3 years left. Someone had 3 years of eligibility left.
That's what got me, because whenever you start full time going to school, your clock starts.
That's right.
No matter what.
That's right.
And so I was supposed to go to Creighton, but I had already did 2 years of junior college at home, no basketball. Then I went and did a year of JUCO basketball in Kansas. And so by the time it was time for me to transfer to a Division I, I had 1 year Division I. But I had 2 for Division II and others.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Like it was a dream crusher for real. But when did you realize, like, okay, this is who I am as a coach? Like coaching under this guy, I'm like, man, I like what he does. I like what he do. When did you realize I had an identity? Or would you say, you change it periodically? Would you?
That's a good question. My first head coaching job at Mount St. Mary, we won 1 game, and it was against the JV team. We didn't have a lot of talent. Great kids, worked hard, we weren't very talented.
Right.
So here I was. I thought I was just a great coach and knew all this information. Boy, we were going to be good, and then you get a big slice of humble pie.
Yeah.
Like, you realize real quick you got to have some players.
No matter how good you are.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have players, and so that experience there helped me learn how to lose. And I feel like coaches, sometimes you have to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win. And so it helped me learn how to improve. That next year, with pretty much the same group, we won 10 games. We took a big step.
That's improvement. That's major.
Yeah, it was major, and I tell the story all the time to every team I've ever coached. I've been blessed to coach some good teams. A couple of years ago, we lost in the state championship game. 1 year at the Mount, we lost in the state championship game. I still feel like that second year at the Mount was one of the most rewarding years as a coach, because after that season, we sat down and said, we have to start giving ourselves some goals, something to look forward to, something to work towards. And one of the goals that senior year group said is we want to win more games this year than we did last. Well, that means 2 games. Right? And so the story is, this is the 3rd game. We're 1-1. 3rd game of the year, we're playing Lexington at home. And it's a really good game, back and forth, back and forth. We end up pulling it out. End up
2-1.
Yeah, so we're 2-1, right? And so in the back of my mind, we're all jacked up and we're fired up because we won 2. And so I go to the locker room, everybody's crying. All the girls are crying. And it caught me off guard. I was like, I'm going in there like this, yeah, what a game. That was a great game. We came back, we pressed, we did some good things, and they're in there crying. I said, wait, what's going on?
What I missed?
Yeah, what's going on? Why are we crying? And they said, well, Coach, we accomplished one of our goals. And I was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah.
One of their goals was to win more games than they did last year. And we did it in game number 3.
Games.
And so it was a great life lesson for me to take a step back and say, whoa, let's celebrate this. Those are good tears, And so to this day, I've been in some really good locker rooms. That locker room is top 3 of all the teams I've ever coached. I'm talking, some really big games we've won over the years, but that right there is a top 3 locker room, because the kids were crying, the investment. It's pretty much the same group that got their tails whipped every game the year before. And so the best part about my job, from somebody that's been doing it a long time, is to see the kids have success when you walk into that locker room.
Right.
You see the smiles, the tears of joy, because we all know what the tears of frustration and anger and all. We all know that, but that's what makes it. That's what makes it so much more special. Is you got to go through that sometimes and go through that adversity, because that's what makes that winning locker room so special.
Right.
You know, I read an article today I shared with my team. It's called Fun versus Rewarding. It's a great article. I'll send it to you guys.
Please
but
do.
It talks about why a lot of kids these days are quitting because it's not fun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, basketball's not fun or volleyball's not fun. And it dives into, well, the reason why it's not fun is because you haven't had to battle through adversity. You haven't had to overcome obstacles. You haven't had to persevere. You haven't had to have...
2 games is not rewarding to you because you hadn't had the ability to go 1 and whatever.
Exactly. And so kids are missing that process, which in the long run is going to, you know, the article says is going to hurt them when they get into their job, their career, or as a parent, you know, because, you know, there's something to rolling your sleeves up and just finding a way to get it done.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, I was watching, I'm a basketball junkie, but I was watching some practice film of Kelvin Sampson at Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And he said something at practice. He's like, you know, fellas, he's like, it's usually just a little bit more hard work that fixes these problems. That's usually what it boils down to. I said, but y'all want to make excuses. It's just roll your sleeves up and work that much harder to get it done. And I think that's some of it sometimes. And so, but it was a really, really great article. But that story is great. You know, I share it every year with my team as far as one of the most rewarding coaching experiences or locker rooms I've ever been a part of.
So that year pretty much made you as a coach because the things you took away from it.
It did. It helped me believe that, you know, we could win. And at Mount St. Mary, at the time, there wasn't much of a basketball tradition. There was nothing against anybody that was there. It's just we're trying to start something. And so what ended up happening is we improved every year. And so now some of the really, really good, and I feel like we were doing it the right way. You know, we were trying to coach and be positive with kids and make it a good experience for them. Well, some of the better Catholic school, grade school kids started to gravitate to the Mount. And it was my 4th year there that we got just an unbelievable group of girls, one of which is on staff, Amy Richard, as our assistant.
Let's go.
And we made it one year, we made it to the state tournament, first time in school history. Oldest school in Oklahoma, never been in a state tournament.
Wow.
Our team was the first team. The next year, we get back to the state tournament, and we beat the #1 seed in the semifinals, Anadarko, to go to the finals. And then our senior year, we get back to the state tournament. We win in overtime against Hera, and then lose to Anadarko in the semifinals. But we had a nice run, but it just every year got a little bit better, and so really proud of what we accomplished there.
I forgot to ask you, because I want you to tell that story.
Yeah.
How did you end up in Oklahoma coaching before, I mean, you already had a sweet deal,
Yeah.
you know, at Newman. How'd you end up in Oklahoma?
So my wife graduated, and she was on an Indian Health Scholarship. So my wife is Native American, and so we had the option to pick between Tahlequah, Ada, or Lawton. And so her being from Norman, we decided to choose Lawton. It's only an hour and 15 away.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first 6 months, we were apart. I was finishing up my master's degree at Wichita State. She was starting her IHS work. Well, then my son was born in October. And so I was commuting back and forth. And then after that last year, we decided to move. And so we lived in Lawton for 2 years. And so during my time in Lawton, I was an assistant boys coach at Cache High School. Coach Lonnie Nunley, who I learned a lot from as well. And I honestly, Cache reminded me of my high school. It's a small community outside of Lawton. I think we'd still be down there today if I wouldn't have had a gun pulled on me when I was out exercising, running one day.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, "We're out of Lawton."
Yeah.
But I loved it down there. I loved the people. But I was there for 2 years. And then when Allie said, "Hey, I want to move back to Norman," I started looking for jobs in the area, and you know, I interviewed at lots of different places. I actually signed to teach and coach at Deer Creek, to be the head freshman coach, assistant varsity boys coach. That was my first, job. Well, then I interviewed at Mount St. Mary, and didn't hear back from Mount St. Mary for a long period of time. Figured I was going to go to Deer Creek, and then I get a call from Mount St. Mary, and so they say, "Hey, we want you to take our job." Well, Deer Creek wouldn't let me out of my contract at the time. So long story short, they ended up finally letting me out of my job there at Deer Creek, and I was able to go to Mount St. Mary. They're there for 7 years, and
Did you ever coach at Deer Creek? No. Oh,
No.
so you finally got.
yeah. So it was just one of those.
Highly sought after.
Right.
Well, you know, and it was because I was a math teacher. I think math, being a math teacher, opens a lot of doors that some coaches don't get to, just because of the content area that you teach. And so, having a math teacher, assistant basketball coach, but I think finally they realized that, hey, this was a head coaching opportunity. You know, why would you want to penalize somebody for getting a head coaching
Right.
job? And so I think over the long run, they realized that it was a good thing. Yeah.
Shout out to Deer Creek.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
took them a while, but they did the right
Yeah,
thing.
it was a blessing. You know, it was a blessing because the Mount changed my life. And some of my best friends, Lenny Hatchett. I don't know if you guys know Coach Hatchett. Some of my best friends
I heard that name.
are still our Mount people.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, nothing but good things to say.
So after making a name for yourself at the Mount, how you get over to Norman North?
Yeah. So the only job that I would ever leave the Mount for would be a Norman job.
Because you live in Norman.
Because we lived in Norman. Yeah, we lived in
okay.
Norman. And so, you know, and those Norman jobs don't come open very often because it's a great school, great academics. You know, everything is just great. You know, we decided we want to raise our family here. And so when that job came open, we had just come off a 3 years in a row in state tournament. And so,
Ooh, that's a tough situation to leave.
yeah, it was
Make
tough.
a good name.
Yeah, it was tough. But my kids were getting to the point where they were getting involved in academics and the drive every day. I felt like if I was closer to home, it'd be better. And so I threw my name in the hat and was lucky enough to get the job. And here we are starting year number 7.
So in these 7 years, how many times have you been able to go to state?
Once. Yeah, we lost 2 years ago. We went. We lost in overtime 2 years prior to that to go. So we've had our chances, but just once. So, though we're really proud of that one because, you know, getting runner-up was a really good accomplishment
That's
for
a
that
great
group.
accomplishment.
Right.
I mean, not to mention, it was right before the pandemic. So y'all got to do something special.
Exactly.
And then, boom, there's no more state.
Yeah, you're right.
There's no more state, and that really hurt me for the kids because, you know, you're getting to miss something, an opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, because
Dreams.
Yes.
dreams. You know, so I only bring that up to say to be able to go,
Yeah.
battle it out, leave everything out on the floor with your team, and because you know how we say it's not promised, it's not promised.
Right.
Well, we got to actually prove that it's not promised.
Yep.
You left it all out, okay? You don't like the losing aspect of it, but you take it, and you know that you did your best. And then the next year, it's not even there to be had.
That's right.
You know, so it's truly not promised.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love that lesson for kids, and I said it at the camp. You know, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about basketball is because I didn't know how long I was going to be able to do it because it's not promised.
That's right.
So, 7 years here at Norman North. Have you ever thought about coaching college?
I think early on, that's what I wanted to do. But now that I'm in a situation where my kids are in high school and involved with athletics, you know, coaching college is such a sacrifice on time and away from family. I'm very happy with teaching math. I'm very happy with going
Being
to the gym
present.
every day, being present with the girls at the high school, being in the same building as my son is special. You know, my daughter's just now getting involved with club volleyball on a serious level. So
Nice.
I think I'm in a good spot as far as where I'm at professionally, and our program I think is in a really, really good spot as far as the kids that we have in it, the culture that we've created, the environment that they get to come to every day, and the assistant coaches that I'm blessed to work with on a daily basis.
Shout out Coach Beal.
Yeah, Coach Beal, Coach Richard, Coach Lloyd. You know, it's the people and the relationships that make it worthwhile, and so I'm very blessed to be in a good spot there. So,
I mean, you know, as somebody who is as competitive as we are,
yeah,
we always wonder, well, I'm able to do this here.
Right.
I wonder what I'm able to do there.
Yeah.
You know, so time clearly hasn't come for you to do that, especially your kids are young.
Yeah.
So I bet that's in your future though, because you're really good at what you do.
well, my wife and I were talking about it. I don't know anything else but coaching and teaching. It's what I want to do. It's where my passion is.
Coaching is teaching.
Yeah, coaching is teaching. And so, I think it'll always be there for me. But like, what do I want to do next with my profession? I honestly take it year by year. I sit down after every season, talk about, what's the next step for me? Do I want to stay here? Do I not want to coach? Things like that. And ultimately, it's a family decision that we make every year. Because a couple of years ago, I had to make a decision because my son, we were in the Norman High district. And so if he was going to go to Norman High, I wasn't going to coach anymore. I was just going to be a dad and watch him. But
why was that?
I just feel like I want to be present, like you said, and as much time and commitment as teaching and coaching is, because I teach full time. It's, I'm not like some where I have 4 periods off and I can, I teach all day, and so then we go to practice, and then I go to my sons or my daughters, and so there's got to be a give somewhere, and I feel like I couldn't, I don't want to give away from my family, and so if my son's competing at another school, then that's where my focus needs to be. And so we talked to him about it, and ultimately we made a decision to come to North, and he loves it. And so we're blessed that it worked out, and so I'm here. And the only itch I would say, I still in the back of my mind would like to coach boys again. I think, before I hang up the whistle, to get back into that.
So is that something that, if a boy's job came open, years down the line, that you would consider? I
think so, and it's just got to be the right. I'm to the age now where it's got to be the right fit.
Yeah.
It's just got to be the right fit.
Because these girls are spoiling you right now.
That's right.
Good team after good team.
And we've had good players.
Good culture, good program.
Yeah, and part of me says, I'd like to be that assistant coach for an up and coming female coach that needs that maybe that male authority on the bench, or can I be that grizzled veteran coach that a young male coach needs that's coaching girls or coaching boys? Part of me would love to be in that role to help facilitate a new coach, to try to help mentor a new coach. I get a lot of value and a lot of fulfillment in that. Yes, bringing out the best in others. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now with Amy, our assistant. She's a former player of mine that wants to get into coaching. And so the opportunity to pour your heart into somebody else, into your program, to show them these are the things that we do, take something that we do and help you grow as a coach. And so I was kidding Kellen, down the line that, someday I'd like to come be his assistant. He said, come on board, So I'm all about that. It's not about being in that first chair. It's just trying to find the right fit and being around the game and being around the kids. That's what it's all about.
Man, everyone wants to be ahead, but sometimes being in that second, third chair, whatever, you have so much more freedom to impact the game in different ways, because now you're not focused on one thing, Now you're helping the guys that's coming off the bench and, the guys that are going to the game or coming from the game, I should say. Hey, when next time you get back in, your number's going to get called again. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
Go do this, this, and this. And, you help the guys coming off the bench to come in with a different morale.
Yep.
Things like that. Or you see something that, the second or the third guy don't see, or the first guy don't see, because you have a different seat in the game, So there's value in it.
Absolutely. Al Beal, our assistant, one of the reasons why I respect and admire him so much is he doesn't tell me what I want to know. He tells me what I need to know.
Right.
And sometimes what you need to know is it's tough. It's tough, And so, but that's the only way you grow as a coach. You learn from it, and people have to tell you.
It's real tough.
And, tell you the truth, but I've learned over the years that you get more benefits out of being upfront and truthful with players and truthful with coaches. And Lord knows I've made my fair of mistakes over the years, but I hope that I've learned from them to help me be a better coach, better person, and better Christian.
So before we wrap this thing up, what message do you have for the aspiring coaches out there?
Man, number one, I don't think you can do anything without passion. So you gotta have a passion for it. I shared with you.
Sure ain't doing it for the money.
No, as I said, my first 3 years, I didn't make any money.
Yeah.
Long bus rides, van rides. You do it for the love of the game, the passion. Kids can see that. Kids can see if you're passionate about it, if you love it, and that's infectious. It oozes out of you. So I'd say number one, passion. Number two is be a lifelong student of the game. I do things differently defensively now than I did 8 to 10 years ago, just because the game's evolved, how teams attack offensively have changed, and so I've changed my philosophy a little bit on that. So I think you have to be a lifelong student of the game. And then to me, a big one is to give back, to give back to the game. One of the things I tell my players is oftentimes we get bought up in what can basketball give to me? What can it give to me, as opposed to what can I give to it? What can I give to the team? What can I give to the program, as opposed to what am I going to get out of it? And that's the mindset a lot of kids have these days.
What can I give to the community?
Yeah, exactly. Can get like your camp. It's one of the things I loved about your camp. And we had this conversation of, there were 4 kids there, but you poured your heart and soul into that thing. And so regardless if there's 4 kids or 100 kids, you couldn't tell his effort and his passion. I mean, it just oozed out. And I told him, it was like, you got a guy like me fired up, And so you have that. That's a gift. Not everybody has that. And so I think that passion is critical, because you as a head coach set the barometer every day for practice. And so if you come with passion and energy every day, you're gonna have great practices. You can bring that as a coach.
Man, I wish you would have got to be there for that second one, because
that second one was live.
Even though there were only like 19 kids in there, it felt like elbow room, because that was such a big jump from 4 from 4 to 19.
Yeah.
And then we had it rocking, man. But I mean, I loved your 3 points, passion.
Yeah.
You got to give back. And what was the second one? You said passion.
Be a lifelong learner.
Be a lifelong student.
And
of the
can't
game.
be afraid to change. I was a lifelong man-to-man, just going to play man, and then when you learn that, you got to learn how to beat better teams than you, then you got to mix in some zone. And so I think over the last 3 to 5 years, we've become a pretty good zone defensive team. Because
that had to be a tough transition to finally be like, all right, I'm gonna try zone.
Yeah, and I think I just made a commitment to it because of the personnel that we had and the way that we had to play. That I had to keep people out of foul trouble. I had to keep JC and Jessica out there on the court. It was a way to still play defense, but keep them out on the court.
Shout out JC, Jessica.
Yeah, and so we went to it, 4 years. We went to our 2, 3, 4 years ago, and now it's an integral part of our defense. And so I had to change.
I mean, that's a sign of a good coach, though.
Yeah.
You just that's when you know it's not about you, because if it's about you're going to learn how to play man or you won't play.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they can help you in other ways of the game.
Absolutely.
So making it about the players, I got to adapt to make this player better, get more out of that player, and you did that.
Yeah.
You did that. And so anytime I hear that, and I don't ever have to see the coach. Anytime I hear that, they know what they're doing. He knows what he's doing. He's good at what he does. And I've gotten to see it, obviously, eye to eye, but now it's supported, like, because he's for the players. He's not for self. He gives back to the players. So that's awesome, man. Well, it's about that time. We got to get that signature. We got to get that signature. I know you're world famous, and we appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
Drop some dimes and some gems.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, this is quite the honor right here.
Ooh. The honor is ours, or the pleasure is ours. Baseball player turned basketball coach, or basketball player turned baseball player to basketball coach. You've done a lot of things, man, and those experiences, yes, sir. Those experiences, I bet they're able to help your kids to an extent that they don't even imagine until they get older. Because you don't know what what the experiences you've gotten in life mean to you until you get older.
Absolutely.
Because you don't appreciate them as a kid. I mean, I know I didn't.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's exactly right.
So, well, thank you guys for hanging out with us as we drop gems that we picked up in these gyms. And that diamond.
Hey.
Peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Sound good, don't it? Check. Look. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Look. Life tried to drown me. This hoop is like my life jacket. This ice in my veins is something Titanic. Lockdown defense kept me out the center for detention. Divine intervention passes over to my center. Alleyways are the alley-oops. Some got no looks and passed away when somebody shoot. Back in court duo, but nobody hoops. The wrists follow through in the cuffs, got a loop. Pick a book up, picked up and get booked. It's just you and I, out running suicides. Me, I was out running suicide. Boy, I'm going in, dropping gems that I picked up in these gyms. I can't slack, I've been down and back. I'm just trying to share a few tales from this thing called life. Count my assists, man, I swear that basketball really saved my life. Yeah, yeah. I swear it saved my life. Let's go.